There is a moment in almost every conversation where the other person tells you the truth, completely, accidentally, without saying a single word. And you miss it. Almost everyone does. Here's the strange part. The signs you were taught to look for, breaking eye contact, fidgeting, looking up and to the left, are mostly wrong. Decades of behavioral research have quietly demolished the lie detection rules that movies and your uncle swear by. People who rely on those rules don't catch more liars. They just feel more confident while being fooled. So today I'm going to give you what actually works, not folklore, the real, observable signals that leak out when a person is lying, hiding something, or trying to manipulate you. And the one rule that separates people who can read others from people who only think they can. By the end of this video, you'll watch conversations differently. You'll notice the pause that lasts a half second too long, the smile that arrives in the wrong order, the sentence that's just a little too perfect. And once you see these things, I promise you will not be able to unsee them. Let's get into it. Every single day, you are being read. When you walk into a room, people scan you in milliseconds, your posture, your face, your tone, and they decide things about you before you've said a word. Salespeople do it, negotiators do it, skilled manipulators do it with frightening precision. The uncomfortable truth is that most of us are walking around as open books, broadcasting our emotions to anyone trained to look, while we ourselves can barely tell when someone is lying to our face. That gap is what we're closing today. Here's something most people get backwards. Reading people is not a gift you're born with. It's not intuition, it's not a vibe, and it's definitely not magic. It is a skill, a learnable, repeatable, evidence-based skill. Researchers like Paul Ekman spent careers cataloging how emotion leaks onto the human face faster than we can consciously suppress it. Behavioral profilers and interrogators are trained to spot stress, deception, and intent in ways that look like mind reading, but are really just structured observation. And the foundation of all of it is one principle that I need you to hold on to for the entire video, because it's the thing that separates real skill from dangerous guessing. It's this: no single signal means anything on its own. Crossed arms don't mean someone is lying. They might just be cold. A pause doesn't mean deception. They might be thinking. The amateur sees one sign and jumps to a conclusion. And that's exactly how innocent people get falsely accused and how good liars get away clean. The expert does something completely different, and I'll show you exactly what that is in the next section. Because here's the deal. We're going to cover the 4 places where the truth leaks out, the 4 channels a person simply cannot fully control once they're under pressure: the face and voice, the body, the words they choose, and the patterns that tie them all together. I'll give you the specific tells in each one. I'll show you the myths to throw away, and I'll give you a way to practice this in real conversations starting today. But fair warning, this knowledge cuts both ways. Once you understand how the truth leaks, you'll also understand how you've been leaking it your whole life, and how the people who study this stuff have been reading you all along. So let's start where every real expert starts, and where every amateur skips ahead. Picture 2 people. The first is convinced he's a human lie detector. He watches someone look away mid-sentence and thinks, "Gotcha, liars can't hold eye contact." The second person says almost nothing, watches quietly, and walks away knowing far more than the first ever will. The difference between them isn't talent. It's that the second person understands the 2 rules that make everything else possible: baseline and clusters. Let's destroy the eye contact myth first, because it's the most damaging one out there. You've heard that liars avoid eye contact. It feels true. It is, in fact, often the opposite. People telling deliberate lies frequently make more eye contact, not less, because they know the stereotype and they overcorrect to seem sincere. They lock onto you. They hold the gaze a beat too long. Meanwhile, plenty of honest, shy, anxious, neurodivergent, or culturally reserved people look away constantly and are telling you the complete truth. If your entire lie detection system is built on eye contact, you will accuse the honest and trust the deceptive with total confidence. That's worse than having no system at all. So throw it out. Here's what replaces it. Rule 1. Baseline first. Before you can spot something abnormal, you have to know what normal looks like for that specific person. How do they sit when they're relaxed? How fast do they normally talk? Do they always fidget or never? Where do their hands usually rest? You gather this in the easy, low-stakes part of a conversation, the small talk. the weather, the how was your weekend. This is your reference point. Without it, you're reading a chart with no baseline, which means you're reading nothing. Here's the practical version. In the first 60 seconds of any conversation, stop trying to read the person and just observe them. Talk about something neutral and harmless. Watch their natural rhythm. You're not analyzing yet, you're calibrating the instrument. Then later, when the topic gets sensitive and their behavior suddenly changes, that's your signal, not the behavior itself, the change from their baseline. A person who's fidgety the whole time isn't suspicious when they fidget. A person who is perfectly still for 10 minutes and suddenly starts bouncing their leg the moment you mention the money, that's worth noticing. Rule 2. Clusters, not single signs. One signal is noise. 3 signals firing at the same time, all pointing the same direction. Right when the topic gets hot, that's a pattern. The expert never says, he touched his nose, therefore he's lying. The expert notices that the moment a specific question landed, the person's voice pitched up. They touched their face, they shifted their feet toward the door, and their sentences got shorter, all at once. That convergence is the signal. A single tell is a coincidence. A cluster, perfectly timed to a stressful moment, is data. Now here's the part almost nobody talks about, and it's a pattern interrupt I want you to sit with. Deception isn't the only reason people show stress. Being accused is stressful. Being nervous is stressful. An honest person under suspicion can light up like a Christmas tree, pounding heart, shaky voice, sweaty hands, precisely because they're afraid of not being believed. This is exactly why so many innocent people fail polygraphs and why interrogators get false confessions. Stress is not proof of lying. Stress is proof of stress. So what do you actually do with that? You don't hunt for, quote, lie signals. You hunt for incongruence. The moments where the channels disagree with each other. Someone says, I'm so happy for you, while their face flashes contempt for a quarter of a second. Someone says, no, everything's fine, while their body folds in on itself and their voice drops. The words say one thing, the body and face say another. That gap, that mismatch, is the richest signal in all of human behavior, because the conscious mind controls the words, but struggles to control everything else in real time. Let me give you the mental model to carry through the rest of this video. Think of yourself less like a judge and more like a scientist. A judge wants a verdict. A scientist wants more data. The judge sees one sign and convicts. The scientist sees a sign, forms a quiet hypothesis, and keeps watching to see if the cluster confirms it. The judge gets fooled constantly. The scientist almost never does. So from here on, every tell I give you comes with the same 3 conditions attached. Is it a change from baseline? Does it appear in a cluster? Is it timed to a meaningful moment? Hold those 3 filters up to everything that follows, and you'll already be reading people better than the overwhelming majority of people alive. Now let's go to the first channel where the truth leaks, and it's the fastest one of all. The human face is the worst liar in the body. It tries so hard and it fails so fast. Here's why. The same emotion that a person is desperately trying to hide is being generated by an older, faster part of the brain than the part trying to suppress it. The genuine emotion fires first, onto the face, and then the conscious mind scrambles to cover it. That tiny window between the leak and the cover-up is where the truth lives. Researchers call these flashes micro-expressions, full emotional expressions that appear and vanish in as little as a fraction of a second. You're not going to catch everyone. Nobody does at full speed without training. But you can learn to catch the biggest ones. And more importantly, you can learn to notice the timing problems that even slow eyes can see. Let's start with the most useful face tell of all, the smile that arrives out of order. A real smile is involuntary, and it engages the muscles around the eyes. The cheeks lift, the outer corners of the eyes crinkle. A social or fake smile uses mainly the mouth. Most people kind of know this. But here's the part that's far more catchable than the eye crinkle: timing. A genuine smile blooms and fades naturally, in sync with what's being said. A fake smile is often a beat too late. The words land, there's a tiny gap, then the smile appears, like a light being switched on. It can also linger too long, frozen in place after the moment that justified it is past, then drop all at once like a mask coming off. Real expressions flow, performed ones have edges. Next, emotional leakage that contradicts the words. Watch for the quarter-second flash that doesn't match the sentence. Someone congratulates you, and a flicker of contempt, a one-sided lip raise, a slight nostril flare crosses their face first. Someone says they're not upset, while their lips press into a thin, tight line and their eyebrows pull in. The word is the cover story. The flash is the truth. When they disagree, trust the flash. Then there's the face-touching cluster under stress. When people feel anxiety, blood flow and itchiness increase in the face and neck, and the hands come up, touching the nose, rubbing the eye, scratching the neck, covering the mouth. On its own, meaningless. But a sudden spike of face touching, the instant a hard question lands, especially the mouth-covering gesture as someone answers, that's a stress cluster worth flagging. The mouth cover is particularly interesting. It's a subconscious attempt to block the words coming out. Now let's move to the voice, because the voice leaks even when the face holds. Listen for pitch. Under stress and deception, the vocal cords tighten, and the pitch of the voice tends to rise, sometimes only slightly, but noticeably against the person's baseline. The confident, relaxed register from the small talk phase suddenly climbs when you hit the sensitive topic. That's your change from baseline rule in audio form. Listen for the pause and the rush. There are two opposite tells here, and both are useful. Some people pause too long before answering a simple question. They're constructing, not remembering. Truth is usually retrieved and comes quickly. A fabricated answer has to be built, and building takes time. The opposite tell is the answer that comes too fast and too rehearsed. Fired off the instant you finish asking, word perfect, like it was prepared. Real memory is messy and arrives in fragments. A polished, instant, complete answer to an unexpected question can be a script. Listen for the filler shift. When people move from comfortable truth into uncomfortable territory, their speech often fragments. More more restarts, more what I mean is. The fluent storyteller from a minute ago suddenly can't finish a sentence. Again, it's the change that matters, not the fillers themselves. And here's a subtle one most people never catch. Verbal distancing in the voice. When someone is uncomfortable with what they're saying, they often drop their volume, trail off at the ends of sentences, and physically lean back. The truth they're telling is being said quietly, like they're hoping it won't be examined too closely. Now, the critical reminder, because I'd be doing you a disservice without it. Every single one of these can be produced by ordinary nerves. A job interview, a first date, an argument with someone you love. All of these crank up pitch, fragment speech, and flood the face with stress. So you apply the rules from section 1. Change, cluster, timing. A pitch rise plus a delayed answer plus a mouth cover plus a contempt microexpression, all landing the moment you ask the one question that matters. Now you're looking at something real. But the face and voice are only two channels. There's another one that people forget to manage entirely because it's the furthest from their conscious mind. And that's where we're going next. Here's a question that sounds strange until you understand it. Which part of the body is the most honest? Most people guess the eyes. The real answer, according to a lot of behavioral profilers, is the feet. Think about it. People spend their whole lives managing their faces. We learn as children to smile when we're told to hide disappointment, to fake interest. The face is the most rehearsed, most controlled part of the body. The further you travel away from the face, the less conscious control a person has, and the more honest the signal becomes. By the time you get all the way down to the feet, you're looking at almost pure, unmonitored intention. So watch the feet. Feet point where a person actually wants to go. If someone's torso is turned toward you and they're nodding along, but their feet are angled toward the exit, part of them has already left the conversation. In a group, watch where everyone's feet point. They reveal who people are really oriented toward, who they respect, and who they're subtly excluding. When someone you're talking to suddenly shifts their feet toward the door, the conversation is over in their mind, whatever their mouth is saying. Next, the hands. And specifically when they go quiet. Most people talk with their hands. These gestures are called illustrators, and they naturally punctuate speech. Here's the tell. When someone is fabricating, the cognitive load of inventing a story often reduces their natural gesturing. The expressive person who was carving the air with their hands suddenly goes still, hands clasped or hidden, because their brain is too busy constructing the lie to also animate the body. A sudden drop in gesturing right as the story gets detailed is worth noticing. Watch too for hands disappearing into pockets, under the table, behind the back. We instinctively hide our hands when we feel we have something to hide. Then there's the entire category of pacifying behaviors, what the body does to soothe itself under stress. When humans feel anxious, we self-comfort, the same way we did as children. Watch for rubbing the back of the neck, stroking the throat, playing with a necklace or collar, rubbing the thighs against the legs, a hidden one, often under a table, touching the lips, twisting a ring, rubbing the hands together slowly. None of these means lie. All of them mean this person's stress just spiked. So when the pacifying starts the instant you raise a particular subject and stops when you change topics, you've found the nerve. You've located what they don't want to talk about, even if you never get a confession. Now, blocking and barriers. When people feel threatened or want distance, they put objects between you and them. A coffee cup slid into the space, a bag moved onto the lap, an arm placed across the body. Crossed arms get a bad reputation. Sometimes it's just comfortable or cold. But arms that cross the moment a topic arrives, combined with a slight lean back and a turn of the torso, that's the body building a wall. The same goes for the eyes. Prolonged eye blocks, where someone closes their eyes a fraction too long while saying something, can be the mind trying not to see what it's saying. And watch prox the torso. There's a reason we talk about someone giving you the cold shoulder. When people feel connected and open, they aim their torso, their vulnerable front, chest, and belly directly at you. When they feel defensive, deceptive, or want out, they angle it away, often before they're consciously aware of it. The torso turn is one of the most reliable rejection and discomfort signals there is. A genuine open conversation has two torsos facing each other. Watch what happens to the angle when the subject changes. Here's the practical drill. Next time you're in a conversation, pick one channel, just the feet or just the hands, and track it for the whole talk. Don't try to read everything at once. You'll overload. Master one channel, then add another. Within a few weeks of doing this deliberately, it becomes automatic, and you'll start catching torso turns and foot shifts without even trying. And remember the through line. The body is loudest the moment something changes. A still body that suddenly starts pacifying. An open torso that suddenly angles away. Animated hands that suddenly freeze. The shift, time to a topic, clustered with the face and voice. That's the truth leaking out the channel people forget to guard. But there's one more channel, and it might be the most powerful of all, because it's hiding in plain sight, inside the exact words people choose. Everything so far has been about what people do. This last channel is about what they say, not the content, but the structure. Because when people are being deceptive or evasive, they unconsciously change the architecture of their language. Investigators call this statement analysis, and once you hear it, you can't stop hearing it. Start with distancing language. When people are lying about or detaching from something, they unconsciously create linguistic distance from it. They drop personal pronouns. Instead of, I took the car and I drove to the store, you get, the car was taken and a trip was made to the store. Instead of, my wife, a man under suspicion starts saying, that woman, or the wife. Watch for people removing themselves and their connection to others from their own sentences. We use possessive, personal language for things we feel attached to and own. We go vague and impersonal about things we want to push away. Next, the unprompted denial and the overqualifier. Honest people, asked a direct question, tend to give a direct answer. Deceptive people often answer a question you didn't ask or pile on assurances nobody requested. Listen for the front-loaded credibility boosters. To be honest with you, honestly, I swear on my life, why would I lie to you? Believe me, people who are telling the truth rarely need to announce their honesty. The truth doesn't need a bodyguard. When someone keeps insisting how honest they're being, a small part of them is managing your perception instead of just telling you what happened. Then there's the failure to deny. This is a powerful one. Ask a guilty person a direct question and watch how often they avoid the clean denial. Instead of, "No, I didn't do that," you get deflection. "What kind of person do you think I am?" Or, "I would never do something like that." Or, "We've been over this." A simple, direct no is psychologically harder to say when it's a lie than people expect. So the guilty mind reaches for everything around the denial without ever landing on it. Notice when someone has many words but never the actual no. Watch for repeating the question and other stalling tactics. Did you take the money? Did I take the money? Repeating your exact question back to you is a classic way to buy time to construct an answer while appearing to engage. Same with, "That's a great question," or asking you to repeat yourself when they clearly heard. These are time purchasing moves, and the brain only needs to buy time when it's building something. Pay attention to tense and detail shifts. When people describe real memories, they tend to speak in past tense, and the level of detail stays roughly consistent. Watch for sudden jumps to present tense in the middle of a past story. It can signal the moment they stopped remembering and started creating. And watch the detail curve. Real accounts have rich, sometimes irrelevant detail in the parts that actually happened, and go strangely vague exactly at the critical moment. The story is vivid right up until the part that matters, and then, stuff happened, and then I left. That sudden poverty of detail at the crucial point is a flag. Now bring in the manipulation angle, because manipulators have their own verbal fingerprints. Listen for language that rewrites your reality. "You're being too sensitive. That never happened. You always do this. Everyone agrees with me. I only did it because you made me." These do specific jobs. They relocate blame onto you. They make you doubt your own memory, and they manufacture an invisible majority on the manipulator's side. When someone consistently makes you feel like the problem for raising a problem, you're hearing the grammar of control. The tell isn't one phrase. It's the pattern, the steady drip of statements that all conveniently move responsibility away from them and onto you. And here's how to test any of it without becoming a paranoid interrogator who ruins every dinner. You don't accuse. You probe gently and watch the channels react. Ask an open, non-threatening follow-up about the sensitive area. "Oh, interesting. Walk me through that part again." A truthful person adds detail easily and consistently, often happy to elaborate. A deceptive person tightens up, gives less, gets irritated at being asked, or, tellingly, repeats the previous version nearly word for word because they're reciting a script rather than recalling an experience. Memory varies on each retelling. Scripts don't. Put it together and you have all four channels working at once. The face flashing, the voice climbing, the body pacifying, and the language going vague and distant, all converging on the same moment. When that happens, you're not guessing anymore. You're reading. So let's pull it all together, because the real skill was never about catching liars. That's the surface. The deeper thing is something far more valuable. Remember the foundation, because if you forget everything else, keep this: change, cluster, and timing. No single signal means anything. You establish a baseline, you watch for clusters of signals that break from it, and you pay attention to when those clusters appear. The amateur convicts on one tell and gets fooled for life. The skilled observer stays curious, gathers data, and lets the pattern reveal itself. And here's the part I most want you to take with you. This skill is a mirror as much as a magnifying glass. The same signals you're now learning to read in others, you've been broadcasting your whole life. Knowing that is power. Not so you can perform a fake version of yourself, but so you can stop leaking anxiety you don't need to leak, hold your center in a negotiation, and stay calm under pressure when it counts. There's also an ethical line here that separates people who use this well from people who use it badly. Reading people is meant to protect you and to help you understand others more deeply, to catch the manipulation before it lands, to notice when a friend's words say fine, but their body says I'm drowning, to actually see the people in front of you. It is not a tool for accusing your partner over a single nervous gesture or for treating every human interaction like an interrogation. The person who weaponizes this becomes paranoid and isolated. The person who uses it with empathy becomes someone others feel deeply understood by. And that, ironically, is far more influential than any manipulation. Because the highest form of this skill isn't suspicion, it's attunement. When you can read what people are really feeling, you can meet them there. You can diffuse conflict before it ignites. You can tell who's safe and who isn't. You can stop being the open book that manipulators love to find and become the calm, perceptive presence that those same manipulators can't get a grip on. Start small. Pick one channel this week, just the feet or just the verbal distancing, and track it in real conversations. Then add another. Within a month, this stops being something you do and becomes something you are. You'll walk into rooms reading the room. You'll catch the half-second flash. You'll hear the script underneath the words. And once you can see all of it, I promise you, you will never see people the same way again. If this gave you even one signal you'll never unsee, do me a favor, hit subscribe, because this channel is your shortcut to understanding human behavior at a level most people never reach. Drop a comment and tell me, what's the one tell you've personally caught someone doing? I read them all, and the best stories get pinned. And tap the next video on screen. I break down the exact phrases manipulators use to control you. Watch it before someone uses them on you.